Hey everyone, Carlos here on a holiday Monday. So this is going to be a little different than a lot of the videos I've been doing recently. I've been on a bit of a video game kick, but I haven't forgotten about the movies and a lot of the reviews that I was kind of working on and thinking about. I just haven't been watching as many of them lately, so that's the way it tends to go with a lot of my hobbies. They tend to kind of ebb and flow. But I did want to kind of have a little tide over until the next time around I get to talking about another movie thing. So I thought I would have a little fun and go over a lot of the movies that are sitting in my Blu Ray collection right now. More specifically, I thought it'd be good just to have it as kind of a catalog of where I'm at this point, and then maybe over time, I'll maybe make another video to update as I go along. You will notice that some of them are still wrapped up in the original plastic. Some of that's because some of them I just haven't gotten around to. But for some of them, I've seen the movie either on DVD or on Netflix or something. I wanted to have a physical copy, but I haven't gotten around to watching it a second or in some case a third or fourth time. So just to get into the video and not spend too much time on it, I'm going to go straight into it. Alright, so number one, right on the top shelf, I started off with all the 007 James Bond movies. And for starters, if you're a fan of James Bond, this right here is a great set. So I'm going to try to deal with this with one hand, bear with me. So it's actually a pretty great set because it contains spots for all the Bond movies for the first 50 years of James Bond. It's a great looking set with all the different Bonds. Back is pretty straightforward. Excuse all the smudges. I haven't cleaned that up in a bit. But it includes a spot for all the movies leading up into Skyfall. So that leads us back into the shelf here. So I'm just going to put that one back. So that sits right at the top. And I do have Skyfall on its own here. I didn't put that inside even though it does have a spot for it because I like having it in its own, and I haven't opened it up again yet. I did originally see this one in the theater, and I will be watching this one again at some point. So following the Bond theme, I have the only really kind of unlicensed James Bond movie. Sean Connery did come back one more time and actually competed with one of the Roger Moore James Bonds with Never Say Never Again. I think, as I recall, I think this is kind of a remake of Thunderball. They basically redid it, and you can tell Sean Connery's a lot older in this one. So, continuing on with the movies that are with numbers in the title, 300. I actually haven't watched this one but I did find it in the store pretty cheap, so I am going to watch it. The visual style of it's really interesting, so I want to check it out. So I'm going to zip through a lot of these pretty quick here. So, 2001: A Space Odyssey. Great film. I have a love-hate relationship with Stanley Kubrick movies. For me, this movie is really visually interesting. One thing, if you've never seen it before, there is a very, very short amount of dialogue in it. You're going to find a lot of times you're just watching the movie progress, and it's visually very interesting, and if you factor in the year that this was made, it would have really blown people's minds with the musical score and what they were trying to do with this. 3 Days to Kill with Kevin Costner. This one's still sealed up because I haven't gotten around to it. I just saw it and I thought it might be kind of interesting. We'll see how that goes. It may be good, it may be bad, but it struck me, and I think I only paid about $3 or $4 on this one on Amazon. So, 61. That thing, I think this one was directed by Billy Crystal. I'm a big baseball fan, and this story is kind of interesting to me. I just haven't gotten around to watching it. I'm hoping to get to it eventually. Now this movie I've seen a ton of times, but I had to get another copy of it, Airplane. If you haven't seen this one here, it has Leslie Nielsen in it, and all these folks here. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is in the movie as, kind of a cameo. It's very funny. I think like along the lines of Naked Gun movies before Naked Gun came out. This one here I got literally because it was a couple of dollars and because Carl Weathers is in it. I have absolutely no high expectations on it. There's a good chance I may just review this movie just to see how bad it most likely is going to be. I'm not going to assume, but there's a really good chance that's what's going to happen. Annapolis. Same along the lines. I don't know too much about it. I haven't watched it originally. I will get around to it, but this was a very inexpensive bargain bin pickup. Any Given Sunday. Love the movie. I thought this was a really great work. I feel almost like, there might be another one, but I feel like this is probably Al Pacino's last really great movie that I enjoyed very much what he did in it. And there's a great cast in there, some great, Jamie Foxx was great in that too. Apocalypse Now, I've definitely seen the movie, but this was a Blu Ray copy because I didn't have one, and now I do. And I'm very happy that I got a great deal on this one. You have to excuse the quick jump cut, but I was having a little trouble getting my hands on this with one hand without knocking things down. So I love these triple features. And this one here is like a lovely Sylvester Stallone, like, triple film. You got Assassins, you got Cobra, and you got Demolition Man. I haven't watched Assassins in a long time, but I watched a Blu-ray version of Cobra, and I haven't seen Demolition Man on Blu-ray, even though I've seen the DVD one a bunch of times. I just love having these triple features because it takes up a lot less space on the shelf, and it's really helpful for that. This is actually kind of tough to do one-handed. There we go. Just about got it. Okay, great. Now this movie is actually a lot of fun. If you like Nicolas Cage just being out of his mind and freaked out, you know, the excuse is that his character spends most of the movie basically coked out of his mind, but some of the things that happen in this movie just made me laugh right from top to bottom. A great movie, and Val Kilmer was also in this for a little bit, but you can kind of tell Val Kilmer is kind of, even at this point, you can kind of tell his career is starting to wind down. This is a great comedy, Bad Santa. The Bank Job, so I'm going to kind of speed along through most of these. I don't want to comment on all of them. This is my favorite Batman movie. I love the original Adam West Batman. That's just tremendously entertaining. If you like the TV show, the 60s TV show at all, you're going to love the movie because it's more of the same. And these are really the only two real superhero movies I have, aside from Adam West Batman. Batman Begins. This is the only one of the Christopher Nolan trilogy I actually watched in theaters. I did not watch The Dark Knight, and I did not watch Dark Knight Rises. I think it was Dark Knight Rises. But this one I saw, I thought it was really good, but it was one of those things where I didn't really feel that I needed to see the other ones in theaters. I knew I would get them eventually, and that's basically what I ended up doing for the most part. Along the same vein, there's The Dark Knight. You know, very good movie. I feel like a lot of it ended up being because Heath Ledger died. That really drove, I think, a lot of more people to the theater. But it was a really well-made, really solid movie, and he did do a very good job as the Joker. Even though I kind of preferred the Jack Nicholson Joker. But, you know, really well done, and I kind of like what they did with the back of the case here to make it look like that. Just doing it one-handed seemed like a better idea before I actually started doing it. Alright, Beatdown. Shows for $3, and that's basically what I paid for it, even though I think there was a special where I grabbed a bunch of these and might have gotten them for half off. So, I'm kind of interested. I know Lashley, I know Michael Bisping, and I know a couple of MMA guys are in this. I haven't watched it yet, obviously, but I'm kind of curious about it, so we'll see. We'll see if it's any good. I kind of doubt it, but you always have to give something like that a shot for a couple of bucks. Behind Enemy Lines, I actually haven't watched this one. But Gene Hackman I like, Owen Wilson's okay sometimes. I'll check it out at some point. Alright, Blade Runner, the complete collector's edition. So you've literally got, I think, 5 versions of this movie on it. Theatrical and a couple director's cut and a couple of other cuts. It's a very cool case though. I like the graphic on the front of it, and it just looks really cool. And it's a really nice to have. You feel like you're getting a real bang for your buck with all that's inside of this set. So I like box sets for that reason. So double feature, Bloodsport and Time Cop. Time Cop's okay, but Bloodsport is classic. I love you know, the final fight scene with him. This is truly tacky 1980s Jean-Claude Van Damme at its finest. It's fun to watch. Body of Lies. Boondock Saints, Broken Arrow, really cheesy, but I love John Travolta. So he and Nicolas Cage are two guys that I enjoy watching freak out and be absolutely insane. Really, this movie is about as tacky as it gets, but at the same time, 90s action film, it's fun to watch. Bronson Triple Collection. So this is actually Death Wish 2, Death Wish 3, and Death Wish 4. So if you like the series, you can't beat, you know, having 3 of them in here in the one case, which is pretty great. I don't have the first Death Wish, but I will get that separately later on to put that first 4 together. And to finish off the first row, Bunraku. I've heard nothing but bad things about it, but I got it really cheap, and I'm going to either laugh or cry with this movie at some point. We'll see what happens. All right, second row. Burn After Reading. Really funny, quirky with this cast is really, it surprised me how out there it seemed like it, but it was entertaining for what it was. Capitalism, a Love Story. Cat Run, pure bargain bin pickup. Chuck Norris. So you can ignore the price on that. These tend to go on sale quite a bit, and I do love these sets. So this one comes with a Lone Wolf McQuade, Missing in Action, Code of Silence, and the Delta Force. So it's great to have kind of those four all together in the one set, which is pretty great. The Code. Cold Light of Day. So this is one of those ones that Bruce Willis was in that I honestly didn't even remember it existing in the first place. I haven't gotten around to watching it again, but I picked it up pretty cheap with the sleeve and everything, so why not? Collision, another bargain bin pickup. Commando, you gotta have your action classics. The Courier, bargain bin. You can kind of tell with some of those titles. Another 3-pack. So this one contains Cyborg, Death Warrant, and Double Impact. So you got your Jean-Claude Van Damme, and a little more Jean-Claude Van Damme to go along with it. You will notice a heavy emphasis on action movies because that's really what I'm into. Steven Seagal, A Dangerous Man. There's a whole little cottage industry with Steven Seagal movies in the latter portion of his career once he's gone straight to DVD. This one is actually not too bad. Some of them are really kind of garbage, and I wouldn't mind reviewing a bunch of them at one point, but this one's not bad for what it is. So Dead Man Down. I'd heard things about it, I just haven't gotten around to seeing this copy. Next is the Death Race trilogy here. So the original Death Race with Jason Statham. Great film, I enjoy it. Next two are the straight to DVD, if I can actually get my hands on them. Death Race 2 and Death Race 3, completely sealed still, but Danny Trejo is in this one and Ving Rhames, so I'm curious. We'll see how that goes. The Deer Hunter. Originally I had this one on DVD as well as on HD DVD at one point, but I wanted to get the Blu Ray example. Christopher Walken won an Academy Award for this movie. I still haven't gotten around to watching it, which makes me sad, but I will make sure to find some time to make that happen. The Departed. I enjoyed that movie thoroughly. So again, going to sets that I like. So this is the Die Hard collection. So this contains the first 4 Die Hard movies, the original trilogy, as well as Live Free or Die Hard. So Die Hard, Die Hard 2, Die Harder, and Die Hard with a Vengeance with Samuel L. Jackson. Live Free or Die Hard I thought was really well done. A Good Day to Die Hard. I got it because I love the collection, I love the set, but this one was kind of it's kind of okay. 2-pack of Dirty Harry and Magnum Force. So here we have Dogma, a great cast, a movie that I enjoyed the last couple of times I saw it. I don't know how it would feel today, but the whole thing with Buddy Christ and everything, I got a kick out of it for what it was. So Doomsday, because you've got to have your post-apocalyptic for action movies, of course. The Double, which I saw in one of the bargain bins. I haven't watched it, I have no idea. Doctor Strangelove. Love this movie, hilarious, very enjoyable. And I thought it was kind of cool that they did it in kind of this book format. It's kind of tough to show it to you with one hand here, but there's a whole little write-up here, and there's a bunch of pages at the beginning of it, and it literally is a little book, which is kind of cool. Dread. Really good movie. Shame it didn't do better at the box office than it did. I would love to see a sequel for this one. Much better than the Stallone Judge Dredd movie, even though I got a kick out of the Stallone Judge Dredd movie for what it was. Duplicity. From Dusk Till Dawn, pretty solid. Eagle Eye, it's okay. I really don't like Shia LaBeouf, but this movie's not bad for what it was. I'll try to get a little closer on some of these here. Eastern Promises, pretty good movie. Equilibrium. This is kind of, almost like a Matrix kind of clone for it, but the action on it's really great and very well choreographed. Very visually interesting. Elite Squad, The Enemy Within. I hear good things. I just haven't caught this one yet. Enemy of the State. I very much enjoyed this film at the time. I haven't watched it again in a while, but I hope to do so. Escape Plan. Just because I'm a shill for Stallone and Schwarzenegger. I haven't watched this one yet, but I have low hopes, but we'll hopefully be pleasantly surprised. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Great Jim Carrey movie. Kind of underrated, sort of, in this, but over time, more people have caught on to it. It's hard to call it underrated because a lot of people do know that Jim Carrey did a good job here, but I guess it just depends on who you are and what you've seen. Executive Decision, kind of a generic action movie, but I haven't watched that one in a while. Exit Speed. This was another bargain bin pickup. I actually did do a review of this movie. Surprisingly good for what it was. The Expendables, of course. If you're going to like all those 80s action guys, you got to have this one. And then, of course, you got to have Expendables 2. And Expendables 3. Not everybody liked this one. I thought it was alright for what it was, but it would have been a lot better if they hadn't tried to make it PG-13 to try to expand the audience. Just go with your core. People that care about 80s action stars probably want it to be rated R. Face Off. Hilarious. These two, freaking out for half the movie, very entertaining. And this is another one of those box sets that I like so much. So the Fast and the Furious 6-movie collection. So that's the first 6 movies. So I actually picked this one up at Target just before it closed up here in Canada, and I got it for about 70% off. So I can't argue with that. Faster with the Rock, not bad. A Few Good Men, great movie. The Fifth Element, real good movie. I haven't watched that one in a while. Fight Club, one of my favorite movies of all time. Firewall. I haven't actually watched this one yet, but I hope to do so. Frost Nixon, actually a pretty solid movie. I don't know if I'm going to watch it again, though, but it is really pretty solid for what it was. Alright, let me try not to skip something. The Fugitive, real good. Full Metal Jacket, excellent. A great Stanley Kubrick movie, but he's had some pretty great ones, but this one is one I enjoy thoroughly. Gattaca. Get Shorty. Goodfellas. Grindhouse. So I actually owned these two individually, so I ended up finding the set that included both, which was really nice. Guns and Evolution of Firearms. I do like the occasional documentary, and this one I was able to get really cheap. I haven't popped it in yet, but I'm looking forward to watching it. Looks interesting. Haywire. Actually pretty good for what it was. I enjoyed it. Gina Carano does a decent job in it. This kind of shows what happens when you get a decent director and a decent cast to go along with her, and I think it can work. Hostage. Pretty good movie. Hot Fuzz. Great kind of parody action comedy movie. It's very over the top, but that's what makes it really fun to watch. The Hunt for Red October. Sean Connery. Can't go wrong there. Inception. Now, this one here is kind of fun because I've heard so many great things about it. I've had this copy sitting here for a while, and to this day, I still haven't watched it. And it's a real shame because I'm really fascinated by the subject matter, but it just never comes up when I pull one out of the shelf. It's weird. Inglourious Basterds. I've actually seen this one a couple of times, but this copy I didn't have for a while. Inside Man. I watched this a ton of times on DVD, but I had to get the Blu-ray, but I really love this movie. Insomnia, same thing. Had a DVD copy that I was kind of wearing out. Really enjoyed it. I really want to watch the original version of this. There's a Criterion Collection version of it, but it's still about $40 even on Amazon. But I will get my hands on it at some point. Jack Ryan's Shadow Recruit. Haven't watched that one yet, but I'd be interested. Kill Bill Volume 1. Kill Bill Volume 2. Night and Day. LA Confidential. Watched my DVD copy. I just wanted to have the Blu-ray to go with it. The Last Stand. Again, I'm a shill for latter Schwarzenegger and Stallone movies. Layer Cake. Actually really good. I enjoyed it. This one I'm very interested to see. I just haven't gotten around to it, but I fully intend to. Sorry, I should say Live, Die, Repeat. I think that was the tagline, but what was the other one? Edge of Tomorrow. That's the one. Lord of War. Fantastic. Lucky Number 11. Liked that movie quite a bit. Machete. Very silly, very over the top, but very enjoyable. The Marine. Not good. Actually, some of the made-for-DVD sequels are probably better than the original one in this case. This one I think is actually my favorite Christopher Nolan movie and probably the one that I enjoy the most out of everything on this shelf. I actually have my DVD set. I had a special edition DVD set that I actually kept. That's how much I like it, even though I bought the Blu-ray version of it later on. Okay, Michael Clayton. I still have these separate, even though I have that Chuck Norris set from above, Missing in Action. Missing in Action 2, which is actually a prequel to Missing in Action 1, which is a weird thing they did. Major League, the first one. Marked for Death, because you gotta have your Steven Seagal. This is when he was actually making movies that went to the theater. The Mechanic, pretty solid. Mission Impossible set, number 1. Mission Impossible 2. Mission Impossible 3. And Ghost Protocol, Mission Impossible 4. And I think they're making a number 5, which I fully intend to watch. The Natural, love the movie. Haven't gotten around to watching the copy, but I did have my DVD for a long time. Nitro, box bargain bin special. Ocean's 11, love this movie series. Ocean's 12. Ocean's 13. Office Space, fantastic comedy, and now that I see it again, I kind of want to pop it in. Operation Endgame. I'm curious, but I haven't gotten around to watching that one. Out for Justice, Steven Seagal, you know. Parker, haven't watched that one yet. Patton, really well done movie, enjoyed that. George C. Scott was great in this movie. So second to last row here. So this is Payback by Mel Gibson. Now, you might notice here, given that I'm in North America, this is actually a European version. Oh, actually, sorry, I should say, I think it's the Australian version, if I'm not mistaken. I forget. The reason I got this one is that this edition actually contains both the theatrical and the director's cut. The director's cut is the one that ends up in a lot of the Blu-rays that I had seen. There may now have a version that does both, but I actually prefer the theatrical version myself. So I wanted to have the option, and this one actually contains both. So I had to import this one at the time. And I dropped something over on the other side. Phone Booth. I actually really enjoyed that movie. Platoon. Predator, the original. Pride and Glory. Gone in 60 Seconds, guilty pleasure of mine. I still enjoy that one thoroughly. Pulp Fiction, kind of a special edition. This is the one that brought John Travolta back at the time. Really enjoy this movie. Really like the special edition here. The box is kind of cool. Punisher Warzone. The Raid 2. I've heard great things. I'm very curious, so I have to get around to watching that one. Alright, it's time for some Rambo. Rambo First Blood, the first one. Rambo First Blood Part 2. Rambo 3. And the most recent one, the last one, Rambo. Red. Red 2. I haven't gotten around to watching this one yet, but hopefully soon. Red Dawn, so that's the original with Patrick Swayze. Redemption. This one I actually just recently acquired with a few other things. Rescue Dawn. Reservoir Dogs. I think this is probably the first Blu-ray I ever bought. Now this one here is another one of those sets. I just haven't gotten around to opening it. It's the Resident Evil Collection. So some people really hate these movies. I like cheesy action movies, so I enjoy this for what it is. So this one contains the first 5 movies. So there you go. Resident Evil Apocalypse, Extinction, Afterlife, and Resident Evil Retribution. So if you like your Resident Evil, that's a good set to get. Righteous Kill, not very good. They tried to be Heat, but they weren't Heat. The Road Warrior. New RoboCop. Haven't watched it yet, I'm curious. We'll have to see. Rock and Rolla. Going with our box sets. So that's the Rocky Collection. Original Rocky, Rocky 2, Rocky 3, Rocky 4, and Rocky Balboa. No, I didn't skip one. I was doing it intentionally. I refuse to acknowledge that movie even exists. Especially since Rocky Balboa also doesn't acknowledge that 5 ever happened. Ronin. So this is actually the second copy of this one that I had. Rounders. Still like that movie. The Running Man. Classic. Sabotage. Surprisingly good for what it is. It's not great, but it's alright. Safe. Salt. And this one here is kind of a controversial pick. Some people will like it, some people won't. I actually thought the story behind it was okay, even though I haven't gotten around to watching the last couple yet. So I'll go through them quick. Saw. Saw 2. 3. Saw 4. Saw 5. So that's as far as I've gotten so far. I had watched that last one a while ago. But I do have 6. And the final chapter. I will get around to watching it at some point. This one is to replace my DVD copy, Scarface. You gotta have that. Scream Collection 1, 2, 3. And most recent, number 4. Alright, last row. So I'm actually gonna get a little closer here. I'm gonna try. So the Sentinel, again, bargain bin, ignore the price. It's pretty much what usually ends up happening. 7, fantastic movie. Love it. 7 Psychopaths. I just looked at who was in it. I haven't watched it yet, but I love Christopher Walken, and these nut jobs I think will entertain me. The Shining, just classic. Shoot 'em Up, stupid but very fun action movie. It's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. The Siege. Sin City. Smokin' Aces 2. I do have the first Smokin' Aces, but that one is in HD DVD format. I'll talk about the HD DVDs on another video. This one will be long enough. Snatch, great movie. Source Code, okay. Speed, pretty classic. Enjoyed it for quite a bit. The Spirit. A lot of people very much dislike this movie. I thought it was alright, and I do like the visual, like, kind of visual comic book style. Samuel L. Jackson's in it, which is always glorious. And Scarlett Johansson is in it at the end, and her character kind of makes me laugh as well. Surrogates, they tried to do something neat, but I wasn't too into it. SWAT, it's pretty good. Swordfish, I like that one. I enjoy it quite a bit. Taken 1 and 2 as a set, so that's alright. Terminator 2, I don't have the first one yet, but I will get around to adding it to the collection at some point. Tango and Cash. Still lots of classic action movies. The Town. Train Spotting. Transporter 1. Transporter 2. Transporter 3. Ultraviolet. Try to get closer to that. There you go. Under Siege. So that's the peak of Steven Seagal's powers. There you go. Under Siege 2. Vastly inferior to the first one. Universal Soldier. Van Damme at the peak of his powers with Dolph Lundgren. Universal Soldier Regeneration. This one here, it does include 2-pack. Second in Command, which I've never seen, and Universal Soldier The Return, which actually had former wrestler Bill Goldberg in it as one of the Unisols. Usual Suspects. Love that movie. Vantage Point. Very interesting film. Alright, I apologize. My hand was getting a little tired there at the end. So, W with Josh Brolin. I'm curious, but I haven't watched that one yet. The original Wall Street. Wanted. I enjoy that movie for what it is visually. War. Very interesting film. The Wedding Singer. I don't really have a lot of comedies in it, but this one I enjoy. And I think Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore actually were pretty good together, especially at this time. So these ones are not movies, but are a couple of extras. Dollhouse Season 1. Dollhouse Season 2, which I thought was a great series. Pushing Daisies, Season 1 and Season 2, so that's the complete series for those two. And these ones are just kind of like extras. WrestleMania 31, which I actually got with a couple of other ones. I thought this was a decent WrestleMania for what it was, so I got myself a copy. UFC Ultimate 100 Greatest Fights. I love this set, so sometimes when I get bored with the current UFC, I can go back and kind of watch some of the old fights. It's a pretty sweet collection. And since I'm a big baseball fan, When It Was a Game. Just a compilation of some old classic footage. It's been remastered in HD. It looks fantastic. I enjoy that thoroughly. So that's the Blu Ray collection. I've been on kind of a video game kick lately. I'm still kind of on it right now. But I thought at the very least I would show off a video with the collection itself. At some point, I may talk about that bottom shelf with the HD DVDs, but we'll see what happens. So I will be back at some point with a couple of more reviews. They will be a little more sporadic than they were before. I think a lot of the videos I'll end up making are going to be movie related, but we'll see how it goes. I should say video game related. But certainly like, comment, and subscribe. And if there's a movie that maybe you enjoyed, certainly let me know. I'd love to have the discussion. Thanks very much for watching.